What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with your NFL Week 12 review. And we are trying this in a recorded style, not live, but recorded. Let me know what you guys think. Let's roll. Week number 12 was an interesting one, a fascinating one. One of the most dramatic weeks of the 2022 NFL season. Of course, it was Thanksgiving week, and I have a lot to get off my chest. Before I do, make sure that you do Gronk Spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new for more BLV content just like this, and Gronk Spike that notification bell for the latest upload and the latest live stream. So let's begin the rants with Thanksgiving football. And the first thing I have to say about Thanksgiving football is about the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I understand. I was born in 1996, which was shortly after the dynasty of the Dallas Cowboys. So, quite frankly, I have seen the Dallas Cowboys be good, but not great. I have never seen the Dallas Cowboys get to the next level, reach the pinnacle. I hear stories, I hear myths. I don't know if it actually existed or it happened. I hear of these Tom Landrys and these Roger Staubachs and these Troy Aikmans and Emmitt Smiths, but I don't actually see any results. I love Tony Romo. I like the Cowboys. My dad is a fan. I will always cheer for the Cowboys. I have in previous playoffs. I was upset when they said Dez didn't catch it, even though they should have lost a week before to Matthew Stafford and the Lions, but we don't talk about that, okay? The Dallas Cowboys are as real as anyone, and that is my point about Thanksgiving football. Everybody wants to act like the Chiefs are this great team, the Bills are this great team, the Niners even, who I love, are this great, unbeatable juggernaut. But the Dallas Cowboys don't get any respect for being in that category, and I think that needs to change. Why do I think that needs to change? Okay, so we might have Odell Beckham Jr. arriving in Dallas. That would change things a lot for me. We don't know that's going to happen. It does appear that they are the favorite to land Odell Beckham Jr., and that would change things significantly. We saw how much of an impact OBJ had on that Rams team, especially in big moments, third down, red zone, and able to get them over the top of teams like the Niners and the Bucs in those playoffs. Now, I'm not saying Odell's even going to be as good as he was last year, which he was pretty darn good, catching about 12 passes against the Niners and the Bucs, but I do think that he can contribute to an NFL team, and that would change things. But as the Cowboys stand right now, they don't have that many weaknesses. And this is how I always think about Super Bowl teams. This is how I always think about if you're going to get and win Super Bowls and you're going to win multiple playoff games in January in elements you don't know what's coming, players, matchups that you don't know what's coming, you have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to shape shift your identity on the move. The Dallas Cowboys are a team that have very few weaknesses. We have seen them have weaknesses here and there throughout the year. Run defense, the ability to get ran on, and the other team possesses the ball, keeps their offense off the field, controls the game. We've seen that. We've also seen maybe at times a lack of a consistent passing game because they don't have the weapons they once did. They don't have Amari Cooper anymore, who, by the way, is playing great in Cleveland. The Dallas Cowboys maybe have had weaknesses throughout the year, but they don't have any more weaknesses than any other team has had throughout the year. We see the Eagles have weaknesses. We see the Chiefs have weaknesses. We see the Bills have weaknesses. We see every team has weaknesses. So what makes the Dallas Cowboys any different? To me, they did play an undermanned Giants team on Thanksgiving, but it was slow, it was sluggish. The Dallas teams of the past may have dropped that game. They may have lost that game. Dallas this year, they adjusted, they came out in the second half, and they utterly dominated in a fashion that we've seen few times this year in a single half. They thoroughly dominated their opponent in the second half in a way that I feel like, San Fran did to Arizona on that Monday night not that long ago. They dominated the second half, and that was a team with 7 wins already on their record, the New York Giants, right? I think the Dallas Cowboys just deserve more respect because they've got a top defense, number 1 by DVOA right now, great pass rush. I think it's the most consistent in football. And they've got a solid secondary, a very good defensive coordinator, a pretty good offensive coordinator. I think Mike McCarthy's done a fine job this year. Dak Prescott is a very good pocket player and pocket passer and very accurate, a good solid quarterback. He's not spectacular, but he can make plays. CeeDee Lamb's an alpha target. They can run the ball. They've got a pretty good offensive line. Tyron Smith's not even there yet, and he'll come back. So I feel like the Dallas Cowboys, the first and foremost thing that I take away from Thanksgiving was their dominant performance. They need to put in the elite category. Now, the biggest takeaway from Thanksgiving was how frustrated I was at watching that Patriots game. The New England Patriots loss was by far their most frustrating loss I witnessed all season long this 2022 NFL season. And I really couldn't figure out why. I was shook. I was shattered. I was heartbroken. I went to my friend's house on Thanksgiving. You guys know this because I didn't stream. The reason why I didn't stream the game, if you guys don't know, is because I was invited over to my massive Minnesota Vikings fans' place. I mean, the guy's got like purple walls. He's got yellow all over. He's got the cards of Randy Moss and Fran Tarkington, all this stuff on his wall. His whole family's a Vikings fan. They're crazy Vikings fans. They got like 18 TVs in their basement, bro. So I had to go over for Thanksgiving. And my team has never lost to the Vikings. So I have never actually experienced my team losing to my friend Jack. And it wasn't because they lost to the Vikings. It was how they lost to the Vikings. And I couldn't really figure it out. I sat there shook. I went to my friend's indoor soccer game immediately following. Yes, indoor soccer is a thing. I went to that game and I was just sitting there and I was upset. I didn't know why. I was expecting the Patriots to go into Minnesota to make a statement, to win that game. I knew the Patriots offense was going to show up in this game. I felt so good about that. I felt great about that. That's exactly what happened. They did. They moved the ball. They ran it. They threw it. They scored points. The last thing that I expected to happen was the Patriots defense to fall flat on their faces and play like utter dog shit. I didn't expect that whatsoever. And I couldn't figure out why the game felt so familiar to me. And it felt like Super Bowl 52. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles game, the Patriots lost where they had like 1,000,000 yards, but they still lost. It felt like they were chasing the game the entire 60 minutes. And there was some weird referee calls there were in this game. It was in the same stadium for damn sake. I mean, it was in the same stadium as that game. And it felt so similar to me. A defense that let me down in a big moment. I didn't think they were going to do it, and they did. Bill Belichick got out-coached in the game. In that game he did. In this game he did. But listen to this for a second. So I scroll across the Twitter machine, and I see this. The New England Patriots were the first team in the Super Bowl era out of 171 teams to lose a game with 25 plus points, 400 plus total yards, outgained their opponent, completed 70% of their passes, had under 60 penalty yards, had no turnovers, and no missed field goals. The first team in NFL history to lose a game where the Patriots had all of those points, no turnovers, no special teams missed field goal, a lack of penalties, even though there was significant penalties in the game that changed the game. They didn't have more than 60 yards in penalties. This was the first time ever. And that really just speaks to you why I was so upset, why I was so frustrated. Because this is a game that the Patriots should have won in a lot of ways, and yet they did not win it. Okay? So there are reasons that you are going to blame, and I will blame as well. First and foremost, let's be honest. I don't like to blame the referees at any point. You guys know this, but the referees sucked ass, okay? Ass cheeks, okay? Multiple ass cheeks. The kick return for a touchdown changed the game for the Vikings. There was holding, clear as day. How many times do we see holding on a kick return? I mean, it happens every 3 times. They couldn't call it there? Are you kidding me? Clear as day on Kyle Duggar turning the corner. That's an obvious call. They get a touchdown out of that. Hunter Henry scored a touchdown. They reversed it for no reason. He caught the ball. Everybody knows he caught the ball. We've seen that touchdown how many times? Travis Kelce scored like 4 of those this year. And then we get a face mask that is missed on Mac Jones in arguably the most important spot in the game. 3rd and 1 to convert on a first down. They miss a face mask. Clear as day. So the refs sucked multiple ass cheeks. Then you talk about stupidity. The Patriots played stupid. Okay, they had a stupid game plan. They didn't pressure Cousins. They didn't get aggressive on defense. They played soft zone coverage. They let Justin Jefferson get free releases. They just let him catch the ball. They didn't take him out of the game. Then you have Adam Thielen doing his thing. I mean, they just allowed whatever they wanted. How do you lose the game, Bill? Don't you say that all the time? How do you lose the game? Well, you let Justin Jefferson put up 150 on your head. That's what you do. And then you got Pierre Strong on the punt team running into the punter, which set up the Vikings for a touchdown drive. Instead of punting the ball, they get 6-7 points. So that results in a touchdown. Huge drive, huge swing right there. So stupidity. And then you've got luck. Luck, okay? Kyle Duggar literally fell over on a flat route. He was covering the flat route out of the goal line formation on the 2-yard line. That probably forces a field goal if the Vikings don't get it. And instead, Kyle Duggar just falls over and then TJ Hawkinson scores a touchdown. That's just luck. So now I understand why the Minnesota Vikings, are the luckiest team in football. I understand why they have 8 wins or whatever it is, 9. I don't even know at this point. And they only have a +5 point differential. Still not buying into the Vikings because I watched this game and didn't buy a single thing that they were selling me. Did they have a good game plan offensively? Absolutely. Congratulations. Congratulations, Kevin O'Connell. You had a good offensive game plan in this game. Your defense stinks. You can't cover. You can't stop the run. You can't do anything. And you're just lucky in the entire game. The refs bailed you out. The Patriots bailed you out. And it felt like the defense of New England was tired from playing that low-scoring game against the Jets. It really looked like that. I don't want to use that as an excuse, but it just did. I mean, it did. So you look at this game, and I'm not impressed by the Vikings. I'm just disappointed and frustrated by the New England Patriots. And I'm not going to stop there. We've got more, okay? So Kevin O'Connell, I'm going back to this. I appreciate your game plan. It was nice. You took the pass rush out of the game early. You let Kirk Cousins gain confidence. You let Kirk Cousins get comfortable. You let primetime Kirk settle in. That was nice, but that was also a mistake by the Patriots. You can't let that happen. Then you've got Kevin O'Connell I just thought he did a good job in the red zone, 3rd down, some big plays in the game. He called some nice plays. Okay, good for him. All right, now we're looking at Matt Patricia, on the other hand, calling some plays here. I thought Matt Patricia was mostly good in the game. Mostly good. The last 2 weeks, he adjusted to the opponent. He knew against Minnesota how to take advantage. He knew it would probably be a higher scoring game. They were going to need more output. They were going to need more points. Against the Jets, they knew it was a windy game. They adjusted the game plan accordingly, unlike the Jets. So I want to give Matt Patricia some credit, but he also had some major plays that he would like back, okay? So there was a couple huge game-changing plays that just did not make sense for the Patriots. There is a red zone play at the end of the first half. The Patriots are at like the 10-yard line with an opportunity to score a touchdown. And sure, you could say, oh, Mac can't take a sack the play before. That's fine. That's on Mac. But you call the last play of the half a fade route to Kendrick Bourne. A fade route. First of all, fade route's the worst route ever invented by human history. It never works unless the guy's Mike Evans or Randy Moss or Kelvin Johnson. It doesn't work. Or Gronk, maybe. And then you do it to Kendrick Bourne, who's not even your biggest receiver, your best jump ball receiver. If you're going to call a fade, call it to Devontae Parker or Hunter Henry. Or don't call it at all, okay? Kendrick Bourne should probably be running a slant there, or maybe a double move there, or something, right? Isolated, let him run the Edelman route. Let him run the whip. Don't let him run the damn fade. It's not going to work. And then we've got a 3rd and 1 later in the game, as I discussed, where Mac got face mask. Why were we even passing the ball there? That's your fault. We were dominating these guys at the line of scrimmage, running the ball in short yardage, and we decided to pass the ball there. It's not like we had no time left. We had like 8 minutes, 9 minutes left. We could have easily ran the ball there on 3rd and 1. So I think there was some big missed opportunities for Matt Patricia, on top of the red zone offense just continuing to struggle and continuing to look terrible. How many times are we going to run an end around in the damn red zone where we lose 5 yards and then we just force Nick Folk to make a more difficult kick? Luckily, we were in a dome, and luckily, Nick Folk's a baller, or else we'd be in trouble. I mean, we would. So, Matt Patricia, good, bad, there was a lot of both, okay? And then we talk about Bill Belichick in terms of his game management. I thought overall fine, but Bill Belichick never really has a bad game management game. The only place where Bill Belichick fails is he has a lack of aggression. In games like this, he never adjusts. And here's my problem with Bill Belichick in these situations. Bill Belichick always talks about 4th down being up to circumstance, being up to what's going on in the game. How is my defense playing? How's my offense playing? How's my special teams playing? Where do I have the edge? And in an aggressive game, we saw it against Dallas last year. He plays conservative. In a high-scoring game, he still counts on his defense, even if they're playing like utter dog shit. He still counts on his defense to make the plays over his offense. And I simply don't agree. I agree with him in a defensive, low-scoring game to punt, to be conservative, to kick the field goal. In games like that against the Vikings, where they're scoring touchdowns, they're moving the ball, they're making plays, you've got to be more aggressive than you were in this game. Early on, there's a 4th and 1 inside the 10-yard line. We kick a field goal instead of going for it. Could have a touchdown, could have 7 instead of 3, could make a massive difference. We kick the field goal. Okay? And then later in the game, in that same 3rd down situation, I understand still a lot of time left. I understand it was at our own 35. But what makes you think, Bill, if everything's circumstantial, that we wouldn't have converted the 3rd and 1 when we've been whooping their butts up front the entire game? I mean, our offensive line played good in that game. So I just look at these situations and I say, well, Bill, you're a little bit of a hypocrite here. Because sometimes you're conservative in the conservative games, but you're still conservative in the aggressive games, in the high-scoring games. So I just don't get that. I just don't get it. Okay? I don't. We were down 7 points, 8 minutes left in the game, 4th and 1. I don't care that it's at our own 34, 35. We got to go for it. What if they get the ball back and they score another touchdown? The game's over. We're done. Even a field goal, the game might be over by then. So I just think that was the wrong decision. You never know what Mac would have been able to do in that situation. Instead of having 50 seconds left, if we had 8 minutes left, we might have gone down and scored a touchdown. Okay? Now, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. I know there's a lot of Lions fans. I love Lions fans out there. But I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you guys. I know everybody else is licking the testicles of Dan Campbell. Everybody else, they're praying to the God above, that is Dan Campbell, right? The Holy Spirit of Dan Campbell. I'm not going to do that. Dan Campbell is easily the most overhyped, overrated, NFL coach in the game. There's a lot of coaches that are criticized. There's a lot of coaches that get their fair share of criticism, and they deserve it. There's a lot of coaches that get praise, and they mostly deserve it. The most overhyped coach right now, I've never seen somebody make more money off of Hard Knocks than Dan Campbell, simply because he's an absolute buffoon. I mean, Dan Campbell is a great hype man. I give him that. But Dan Campbell is not a great head coach. I mean, how many times does Dan Campbell need to almost lose or lose the game for his team in clock management situations? How many times did he mess up against the Bills alone? 3? He had 3 different mistakes that were clear as day on the head coach, not on the offense, not on the quarterback, not on the defense, not on the OC, not on the DC. He mismanaged the game, and he lost his team the game. And every time that happens, he comes to the podium, and he says, "Oh, shucks, I'm glad everybody likes me for biting hypothetical kneecaps, but I lost us another game, so I guess I'm safe because I'm so likable." I mean, this guy is a buffoon. Okay, there was 3 spots in this game that they lost the game. Before the half, you have a 1st and goal at the 2-yard line of the Buffalo Bills. You're playing Josh fucking Allen right now, okay? You're at the 2-yard line. There's 2 minutes and 8 seconds left in the game. 2 minutes and 8 seconds in the half. And they throw the ball on 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. Why? Why didn't they run the ball? You rather score a touchdown or you run the clock down to the 2-minute warning. So you take the 2-minute warning away from your opponent. You can't allow them to use a timeout. Instead, you throw the ball, so then it's not the 2-minute warning yet. So then they get an extra timeout because you threw the ball, and then they get the 2-minute warning, and then they get a timeout. So you mess that up. You allow the Bills and Josh fucking Allen to have more time to go down the field to get a field goal. Congratulations, mismanaged that. Instead, you could have ran the ball. Okay, if you get stopped, that's fine. Maybe you're at the 1-yard line now. Maybe you're still at the 2. But at least you took 1 stoppage away from your opponent and Josh Allen. Okay, this is not Zach Wilson. This is Josh Allen. Okay? And then, Dan Campbell, one of the drives, you're 3rd and 15 at your own 3-yard line. Instead of running a draw or a screen, you drop back into your end zone and you allow Jared Goff to goof. You gotta protect your quarterback. You're protecting your quarterback the whole day. And what I mean by protect is not the offensive line. I mean, you're protecting him through play calling, scheme. And some of this is on Ben Johnson, but at the end of the day, this is on the head coach. He's got to say, okay, Ben, run the ball here. We're going to punt. Ben, run a screen. Okay, see if it pops, but we don't want anything, okay? We don't want anything too aggressive here in case we get sacked. Instead, the Lions on 3rd and 15 at their own 3. They're never going to convert in a million years. They drop back into their end zone. They allow Jared Goff to get sacked, and they give up 2 points. End possession. Game could be over right there. They're lucky the game wasn't over right there. Then at the end of the game, there's a 3rd and 1. You have the football at Buffalo's 33-yard line. And instead of running the ball to kick a field goal, right? Run the ball, and then if you get it, great. If you don't get it, okay, then you kick the field goal like you ended up doing. 3rd and 1 at Buffalo's 33. There's 23 seconds left in the game. And you pass the ball. What sense does that make? That doesn't make any sense. Just run the ball and kick the field goal. And don't let Josh Allen get the ball back. It's really not that hard. But instead, you let Josh Allen get the ball back. And he scores a damn field goal and they win the game. So you lost your team the game right there. 3 different times. Dan Campbell lost the Lions the game. I feel bad for Lions fans because they're buying into the propaganda that this guy is some almighty great head coach. He's not. He doesn't know how to manage the game. And when you're a head coach, you need to know how to manage the game. That's your job. That's what you're paid to do. He's making $6 to $8 million to do that. I mean, I'd rather have a Madden guy get in there who knows all the situations, pay him $100,000, and instead you got yourself a better game manager, and you could just use Dan Campbell as the hype man. Okay? So Dan Campbell, I mean, what does he do really? Ben Johnson runs the offense. He doesn't run the defense. What does he do? Other than mess games up and lose games. Most overrated coach in the game. Now, let's get to Sunday. I have a quick thought on the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, we will learn about them these next few weeks. We will learn how good, how legit the Miami Dolphins are, because everyone is building them up to be a top 5, top 6 team in the NFL, as they should be. On paper, their results are a top 5, top 6 team. I'm not trying to say they're not, okay? So don't get triggered, Tuanon. Don't get triggered. But we are going to actually find out how good they are, because it's been a very long time. If you look at their schedule, they have not played a above average team, not just like a good team, above average team in weeks. They haven't played. They played the Texans. They barely tried. They came away the winners. That's what you're supposed to do. Handle business. That's a good team right there. With Tua, they haven't lost a game, which is very impressive. But the schedule coming up, you got at San Francisco, top dog in the NFC. You got the Chargers and Justin Herbert. You got the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo and potentially some weather elements there. You got the Green Bay Packers at home. I'm not sure who the quarterback will be. You got the New England Patriots in New England, a divisional matchup, big for the playoffs, and also potentially some weather as well, which will test your Miami team, and the Jets. Why these games are so crucial, especially Buffalo, New England, I want to see how Miami reacts, because they're likely going to be on the road in the playoffs, and they're going to have to play in Buffalo. They're going to have to play in Kansas City, some colder environments where there might be some elements involved in their playoff run. And you've got 3 divisional games. You've got games against Shanahan coaching staffs that know how you operate. 3 of them, right? San Francisco, New York, and Green Bay. You've got to play Justin Herbert. You got to play Josh Allen, and you got to play Bill Belichick. So you're going to see everything here. You're going to see good quarterbacks. You're going to see good coaches, Shanahan, Belichick. You're going to see good teams, above average teams, great teams potentially. So this is going to be a tough stretch. And we're going to find out a lot. I'm not saying they got to win every game. I'm not saying they got to only lose one. I'm just saying they got to compete at a high level. They got to be in every game. They got to be at the end in every game. Sure, maybe they lose to Buffalo. Maybe they lose to San Francisco. That's fine. Maybe they even lose to New England. But they got to be in those games, and they got to show us that they're legit. Because after all, the NFL calendar, the NFL season starts after Thanksgiving. The stream that I did on Sunday, the first of 2, was the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. Okay? And this game was very interesting. It wasn't too different from how I saw the game going, but I think there was some things learned. Okay? First of all, DJ Reader, man, he's back, and he made a major impact in the winner of this game. DJ Reader is a super underrated player, and he makes the Cincinnati Bengals run defense a heck of a lot better, a heck of a lot stronger, and tougher to penetrate. And in that game against Tennessee, the Bengals looked a lot more like the defense that played in the playoffs last year. Big game Lou, man, he came up with a great game plan to put guys in the box and slow down Derrick Henry. Mike Hilton was shooting in from that nickel spot consistently and making plays behind the line of scrimmage. Mike Hilton's a heck of a football player, an absolute baller. And this defense played their asses off against the run. Did they give up some plays against Ryan Tannehill? Absolutely they did. Ryan Tannehill, I thought, played really well in this game. I thought he continues to show, just he's underrated. I mean, he's underestimated. He's overlooked. Whatever you want to say about him, I think he's overlooked. I think he's underrated. But the Bengals defense, man, played a great game. I think they won them this game with how well they played against the run. I thought really the difference was the Bengals had a couple nice, big, impactful runs later in the game, in the red zone, on third down, and the Titans really didn't. And that is big because the Bengals didn't have Joe Mixon and the Titans had Derrick Henry. And still, the Bengals, I thought, had a more effective, in big moments, running game. It's not going to show in the stats, but I think they did overall. The Titans, I did think, were the better team for about 3/4 of the game, to be honest with you. But I think overall, the biggest difference in the winners and the losers was the Bengals made a couple big plays. They made some indefensible plays. I thought Joe Burrow made some great throws to T. Higgins, to Irwin, who made a spectacular catch in big moments to get them those touchdowns, those scores. And I thought the Bengals were a lot better in the red zone than the Titans were. I thought they executed in the red zone. Some of that was the run game. Some of that was Joe Burrow's accuracy. And some of that was also his ability to extend plays with his legs. But the Bengals made those plays in the red zone. T. Higgins proved to me that the Bengals really do have two number one wide receivers. It's not easy to have a big game against the Tennessee Titans and Christian Fulton, but the Titans allowed it to happen, and that just speaks to how good T. Higgins is, how good that connection is between Joe Burrow and himself. And I think T. Higgins it's taken some time. I've always liked T. Higgins, but last year there was the question of, is Ja'Marr Chase the true alpha here? But I think this last couple of games, this last stretch, and especially in this game against a good defense, in my opinion, T. Higgins proved to me that this guy is a legit number one receiver and can be when Ja'Marr Chase is injured. The field goal infraction, unfortunately, ended the game. There was 1 minute, 50 seconds left in the game, and the Titans didn't get a chance to go down and tie the game with a touchdown. They would have been up Cincinnati 23-17. Instead, the game ends there 20-16 instead of 23-16, which it would have been. Thought the offensive line of Cincinnati really impressed me, in terms of this matchup from last year to this year. I thought there was significant improvement in terms of pass protection, in terms of overall game plan from Cincinnati to get the ball out quick. Joe Burrow's processing was a lot better to get the ball out quick. He's learned a little bit more. Against Tennessee last year, he held on the ball way too much, and he tried to make every big play, and they just weren't there. This year, he did that. This year, the offensive line protected. And this year, Joe Burrow ran. He scrambled. He extended plays a lot better than he did last year. And I think Tennessee at this point, it's fair to say they have an issue with guys that can run, guys that can scramble, and guys that can make plays with their feet at the quarterback position. We've seen Joe Burrow do this. We've seen Josh Allen do this. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do this year, where the legs of the quarterback, not the arm, have really hurt and broken the back of the Titans defense. That has been big. Treylon Burks continues to play well for the Tennessee Titans. Treylon Burks really made some big plays in this game, down the field, a couple massive grabs, and he's getting better. I thought Westbrook Akine played really well. Austin Hooper seems to have a connection with Tannehill. So the receiving core of the Titans continues to play well. And I actually thought Tennessee's pass offense carried their offense in this game, like I said about Tannehill. Samaje Perine really stood out to me as a smooth back in the passing game. That guy just continues to get better as a pass weapon for this offense. Smooth hands, smooth receiving, and converting into yards after catch. Just great ability. Hayden Hurst, I thought, had a sneaky, really good game. And he's providing those CJ Uzomah plays this year for that offense. Those big, explosive after catch plays, breaking tackles, making people miss, even going vertical down the field as a tight end. Impressive stuff. But really, at the end of the day, where I thought the Titans lost this game was the middle eight. And the middle eight is the last 4 minutes before the half and the 4 minutes following halftime. So the Tennessee Titans, before the half, drove the field and then missed a field goal before halftime to give them the lead in the game. It would have been 13-10 instead of 10-10. They miss a 36-yard field goal there. You got to make those. Those are short chip shot field goals, and the young kicker, inexperienced kicker, misses it. Then after halftime, not only do they miss the field goal before the half, they get the ball back. So that's potential for 6-10 points right there. Instead of going down the field, they get stopped, 3 and out. They give the ball back to the Bengals. So instead of getting points before and after the half to potentially win them this game and possess the ball and really control the game from there, which Vrabel set up through his great clock management and game management, they're unable to execute in the middle 8 and they lose the game. I think because of that, they weren't able to take control of that middle 8. Okay? So that's what it came down to me. I'm intrigued to see the Bengals play the Chiefs. I'm a little bit worried about their perimeter corners. I didn't think they played well against the Titans. We'll see how they fare against the Kansas City Chiefs. The next topic we must discuss is the New York Jets. The New York Jets, Mike White absolutely showcased why he should start for this team for the rest of the season. And I made a video, I put out a short of me ranting last week on this very show about Joe Flacco and why I would start Joe Flacco, and I stand by the reasons of why I would start Joe Flacco. I really didn't have enough evidence of Mike White being a successful NFL starting quarterback. And I believe in experience. I believe in managing the game when you've got a strong defense, and I stand by those reasons. But if Mike White can do that and then also provide you a little bit of a spark in terms of some mobility, some pocket presence, and some just big playability that maybe Joe Flacco doesn't give you, some youth, some enthusiasm, some energy, some chip on the shoulder that maybe Joe Flacco doesn't have, I think that's huge for them. And I think Mike White can really take this team to some promising results this year. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets won a playoff game, won 2 playoff games. They have that type of defense. They have that type of archetype where if they don't run into the Patriots, I feel like they would win. You know, they could win some games in the playoffs and really upset some teams. Like if they play the Ravens, if they play the Bengals, if they play the Dolphins, if they play the Bills, who's to say they can't win those games due to some strong defense, some good running attack, and some solid quarterback mistake-free play? I really think they can do that. But looking at this game, man, it just reminds you about what quarterback is really about. Mike White reminded us what quarterback is really about in this league. Quarterback is not about scrambling around in circles, making people miss, throwing the ball off platform, throwing the ball off your back foot, making crazy cross-field throws, making these wicked passes. It doesn't matter how cool you throw the football if you don't think the game, if you don't feel the game, if you can't lead at the quarterback position, if your teammates don't believe in you, and if you're not consistent. If you're not consistently accurate, if you're not consistently reliable, if you're not consistently accountable, and if you are not consistently completing passes. I mean, after all, Zach Wilson fails to complete passes and gain positive yards and keep his offense on track and keep his offense on pace. Mike White simply distributes the football to his playmakers accurately, efficiently, and on time. He doesn't do anything spectacular. He doesn't go crazy and make people miss and scramble around. He doesn't throw the ball wildly down the field. He doesn't try to create too many second opportunity and chance plays. He just plays quarterback. He distributes, he goes to his reads, and he makes plays. It's that simple. He gets the ball to his playmakers, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and he gets their engine going. There's too many great receivers in this league to expect every quarterback to have to be a shooting guard. After all, the quarterback position is about distribution. It's about being the point guard. It's about getting the ball to your shooters, to your scorers. The quarterback is the distributor, is the point guard, is the leader. He is not supposed to be the shooting guard. There's only so many Patrick Mahomeses. There's only so many Josh Allens. There's only so many guys that can be the biggest playmaker and the biggest distributor at the same time. If you can be a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, that manages the game, that accurately throws the football, that can throw the ball with a bit of zip every once in a while, as Mike White did in the elements in this game, and you can complete passes and you can keep your offense on track, on pace, on schedule, you can win games in this NFL. And that's exactly what I saw from Mike White. I am very proud of him. I think he played great. He showed maturity in the game, in the post game, and I'm looking forward to seeing this guy playing. I think the Jets did a great job of facilitating him with a game plan that made sense for his skill set. Short timing routes, get the ball out quick, get the ball to the playmakers, and he executed, right? Everybody's going to get on Zach Wilson. Of course, Zach Wilson has played like utter dog shit, right? The Chicago Bears are not the best defense. They're not the Patriots defense, right? So obviously, Mike White's going to look better against the Bears than he would have against the Patriots. But what Mike White did was he just didn't try to do too much. That's the biggest flaw of Zach Wilson. Trying to do too much. Trying to be something he's not. Trying to go over the top when he doesn't have to. Mike White knows he has a good defense. Mike White knows they can run the ball. Mike White knows this, okay? They don't need to do anything crazy here. And Mike White was successful with that. I thought Mike LaFleur had a very nice game plan for him, and I think he executed that. So good on Mike White. I'm looking forward to seeing him the rest of the season. And Garrett Wilson, man, shout out to you. Absolute baller, bro. Okay, moving on. The Baltimore Ravens and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've got to say this. The Lamar Jackson nonsense has to stop. The Lamar Jackson nonsense is getting ridiculous, is driving me wild, is driving me borderline insane. Okay? I understand Lamar Jackson is not putting up fantasy points. Okay? So you can stop with the, Mitch, Lamar Jackson isn't putting up the fantasy points. He sucks. Lamar Jackson sucks. He isn't any good because he doesn't put up any fantasy points. Well, you go get in the corner. Take a timeout. Okay, little boy? Lamar Jackson, this is what he's got to deal with. He's got Patrick Ricard, a 350-pound defensive tackle, playing tight end. And then, on the other side, he's got to deal with Tyler Conklin, who is so fucking bad that he got traded from the Jacksonville Jaguars to your team to play tight end. That is what the Baltimore Ravens are rolling out on third down. Greg Roman is rolling out Patrick Ricard on 3rd and 12 on a flat route. How is that supposed to help any quarterback in the league? I mean, how many times does Lamar Jackson just have to throw an absolute piss missile down the middle of the field to a guy that is covered like absolute glue? I mean, is there anybody open in these Ravens games? You tell me how many times a Ravens receiver is actually open in one of these games. Ravens receivers are never actually open. They're never open. I never see a guy open in a Ravens game ever. Ever. And it's because you got Josh Oliver and you got Patrick fucking Ricard out there. A defensive tackle. The Ravens lose another game late. Their defense booty, right? Lamar Jackson makes a spectacular throw to Deshaun Jackson and everybody forgets about it because the defense can't make a stop when it needs to make a stop. Okay? The Ravens dominated possession for 3 quarters in the game. Can't make a stop when they need to make a stop. And Greg Roman needs to get out of here. I mean, this offense needs to evolve. Lamar needs to have some new opportunities in a new offense. I don't know why this team never gets under center. I don't understand it. I've been saying it for a long time. I don't understand why this team doesn't run more spread stuff. Get some better freaking receivers. I don't understand it. That's what he did in college. I don't get it. Okay? The Jacksonville Jags, yes, they're better than their record. This is not a team that is bad. This is not a terrible loss by any means. They're a team, Jacksonville, that's just super immature, super inconsistent. They lose games because they make way too many mistakes, and oftentimes they offer up mistakes. They offer up a loss because they turn the ball over, they fumble it, they turn it over on downs because they go for it every time. I mean, Doug Peterson is fortunate in this game that he got the 2 point. I think it was a ballsy move. I actually this time think it was the right move because they were the underdogs in this matchup. So I like going for 2 when you're the underdog to win the game. But man, like Jacksonville could have won way more games if they just played a little bit more within the lines. Just a little bit more mistake-free. And I do think some of that blame goes on Doug Peterson because all the time he's going for 4th down and they never make it. So yeah, there's nice times where he makes it, like this game, but how often has that actually happened this year? So this is a team that I just think there's a reason they have a positive point differential, but they've got a losing record. It's because of all the mistakes they make. Now the Ravens, on the other hand, I just don't see this team going anywhere in the playoffs because the offense, they have no receivers that get open. Greg Roman's passing offense is a joke. And their defense just can't make any clutch key stops when they really need to make those stops. They just haven't proven it to me. They haven't. And this is another rant I gotta say. I meant to say this after the Mike White conversation, but if I was a NFL general manager, I think the best way to build an NFL team right now is to build your team around the point guard quarterback. Like I said, not every quarterback's going to be Mahomes and Allen. So instead of trying to find the next Patrick Mahomes, what you should do is try to find the next Joe Burrow. That would be great. Even if you can't find a Joe Burrow. We're seeing guys like Taylor Heineken, Mac Jones, who's better than him, but you get what I mean. Mac Jones wins games, right? We're seeing Heineken. We're seeing Mike White. If you can even find a Kirk Cousins, right? That level. These quarterbacks, if you can just support them with playmakers at wide receiver and a good pass rush and a good tackle or tackles, you're good. I mean, honestly, like Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But what would Joe Burrow be if he didn't have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and all these players? I mean, I like Joe Burrow. He's good. But don't get it twisted, like, you can win with a quarterback that's mostly a pocket player, that's accurate, that makes good decisions, that manages the game. You can win with that type of guy if you've got playmakers. If he's the point guard and he stays on script, the way that you can scheme on offense nowadays, the difficulty it is to play defense nowadays, if you have good receivers, if you have 2 number 1 receivers, it's very difficult to defend that. You can play perfect defense and still lose games because these receivers make incredible plays. So, to me, that's how I would try to win in the NFL. That is how you can be successful. I mean, look at the Vikings. Look at the Vikings. They don't even have that great of an offensive line. They don't even have that great of a defense. Kirk Cousins is a pocket quarterback, but he manages the game. He's accurate. He makes some big throws down the field, but you've got great weapons. You can throw the ball all over the yard. And that's how you win. Even against a great defense at home, you can win like that. Because when those players are on and when that quarterback is humming, it's impossible to stop in the NFL. Because if you play too aggressive, you're going to get called for flags. It's just tough to stop Justin Jefferson. It's tough to stop Tyreek Hill. It's tough to stop Jamar Chase. It's even tough to stop T. Higgins. That's how I would play. That's how I'd do it. That's how I'd run it. Maybe that's just me. The Raiders. We got to discuss the greatness that is the Raiders. So, immediately after this win, I had to go to my guy Lenny, who is a big Raiders fan, and I had to say, is there a chance the Las Vegas Raiders still turn this around and make the playoffs? And I know there's Raiders fans watching this right now saying, Mitch, don't get it started. Don't get me going, bro. Don't even make me think it. But I had the thought. I did have the thought. The Raiders went into a very difficult environment and won a game in overtime with their running back have 300 total yards, 40 points. They won a game in Seattle, the 12th man, arguably the loudest building in football. They won that game. And they're starting to turn around their unfortunate plays and mistakes from early in the year. Early in the year, they were getting a little unlucky. That luck from last year regressed. But now the regression's starting to turn the corner maybe just a little bit. The Raiders are starting to win close games. They are. This week, they made the plays in overtime. Previous weeks, they didn't. Early in the year, they didn't. Right? And I look at this schedule, I see not an overly challenging schedule. Right? Next week, they play the Chargers. I think they match up decent with the Chargers. It's probably going to be a shootout. But the Raiders, if they can dictate the game through their running game, and they can keep Herbert on the sidelines, they can win that game at home. They can win that game. And then you're talking about, okay, then week after you play a Rams team that doesn't have Stafford. That could be a win. You play the Patriots, a team that you know very, very well because McDaniels against Belichick. And we know that these coaches that leave Belichick typically beat Belichick for whatever reason. Brian Flores, Matt Patricia did. Josh McDaniels did in Denver. We've seen it before. And you look at that schedule, man, I'm telling you, up until the last 2 weeks, which you play the Chiefs and the Niners, which who knows? The Chiefs in the final week may not even be playing anybody. But even then, you almost beat the Chiefs the first time. You probably should have beat the Chiefs the first time, so they could easily beat the Chiefs this time around. Right? At home this time, I believe. So, I look at the Raiders right now, and I mean, it's a very outside possibility. It's a small chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But I do think this is going to be a team that's a pain in the butt for a lot of teams down the stretch. I do think this is going to be a team that gives a lot of teams issues because they can move the ball, they can score points. And they're playing hard. This is a team that has not given up on their coach. You look at the Broncos, that's a team that's given up on their coach. The Raiders are a team that are starting to believe a little bit, starting to feed into the message. And I think that bodes very well for McDaniels for the rest of the season and entering next year. I think McDaniels is finally starting to get across to these players. Obviously, they have the worst defense in human history. There's no question about that. They have the worst defense in the league. It's not even close. I mean, these guys are terrible. But, I mean, they're playing their asses off. They're playing very well. And this is a team that ultimately is rebuilding. This was a season of rebuilding. They sent off the wrong vibes in the offseason because they traded for Davante Adams and because they signed Chandler Jones. But that was more of a culture thing. I think Adams was just too good of an option to pass up, right? Like, they didn't lose a pick for this year. They lost last year's picks, right? They get this year's picks. So Davante Adams was more about like, let's try to get Derek Carr something that he can work with, and let's get this offense going and flowing. And I think really, if you think about it, if Chandler Jones was a good player, like the way that they thought he was and would be for this defense, I think that they would be 2 games better. Because when you really think about it, if this team just had a more consistent pass rush, like imagine combining what Max Crosby is right now, who's an absolute demon, top 3 edge rusher in the league, top 4, with a guy that's also very good. I mean, in theory, that sounds very, very good. It hasn't really happened. That's been a bust of a pickup, right, so far. Imagine if that would have came through. Even with as bad as the rest of the defense is, they'd probably be 2 games better. They probably close out a couple of these games they weren't able to close out. Jacksonville, Arizona, and they're 2 wins better than they are. And this team might be in the playoffs right now. So just think about that for as bad as they've been at times this year. This is a team that ran the ball 40 times in this game against Seattle. Josh Jacobs, absolute beast, deserves to get paid, absolutely does. But they didn't have a holding call in 40 carries. That is good coaching. That is impressive. This team continues to play with heart. Okay? Seattle, on the other hand, I'm just starting to see some regression from their defense. Their offense continues to play awesome. Geno Smith continues to play great. Kenneth Walker's an absolute alpha. Metcalf and Lockett are awesome. Like, these guys are great. Pete Carroll's a good coach, but the defense, I just see a lack of pass rush. When they can't get there and they can't cause disruption, it's just not good enough on defense. So this team, I think with those draft picks they have from the great Russell Wilson, they should cook in the draft, and they should pick up some pass rushers to help this defense moving forward. Let's take some sips of this water. Let me know how you guys are enjoying this non-live version of The Bottom Line. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Gronk spike the like button. Become a YouTube member, guys. Support the channel. Become a patron if you like. It really means a lot to me. And if you guys want to continue seeing these videos, continuing to see these content, the best way to do that is to support me. I know that it's money, I get it, but that's the best way to support your boy here is I need to make money. I need to make a living. So if you guys want to support me, it's not like you're getting it. You're not, I'm giving you stuff in return. I'm giving you entertainment. I'm giving you bets. I'm giving you a podcast. I'm giving you live streams in return. $3, $2. You guys don't even know, it goes a long way. So check out YouTube membership. Check out Patreon, guys. Let's get to a team that really, really is just an absolute fucking joke. And that is the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers, man, are an absolute joke and a fucking half. They have a coach named Brandon Staley, who I understand he won. I understand everybody. Yippee-ki-yay! He won on a 2-point conversion. Yippee! Okay? This team is a joke. They're terrible. This team, if they make the playoffs, I swear to you, they're going to get blown the F out. They stink. Okay? This team is bad. This team is all Justin Herbert, and that is it. Austin Eckler, that is it. Shout out to Austin Eckler, by the way, like 150 kajillion receptions on pace for that. But this team's an absolute joke. I have cheered for the Los Angeles Chargers, the San Diego Superchargers, since I went to San Diego when I was a little pipsqueak. I was about 10 years old. I went to San Diego in 2006. I couldn't forget it because it was the season that the Chargers have never been better in my entire life. The 14-2 2006 Chargers, who may very well be one of the most talented teams I've ever seen in my life. LaDainian Tomlinson, 31 touchdowns that year. I remember going to San Diego, and I've always liked the Chargers since that trip. I really have. I love their colors. I love their jerseys. I love their fans, the ones that are there, mostly in San Diego still. I love the players, a lot of them. I liked Phillip Rivers. I liked Drew Brees. I liked LT. I liked Vincent Jackson, Antonio Gates, Sean Merriman. The list goes on, man. I like their players. I like their franchise. I don't like this San Diego team. I don't like the Chargers. I don't like the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't like the goofy coach, the nerdy coach. I don't like this defense who can't stop a lick of anything. I mean, the defense can't stop a nosebleed, okay? This defense is putrid. I don't like this team, period. I don't like how they play football. I don't like how they execute. I don't like the style they play. I think they play soft. And we live in a society, right? As the great Joker said, we live in a society, a quarterback syndrome society, a society that instead of blaming the dorky coach, instead of blaming the supposed mastermind of defense known as Brandon Staley, that doesn't stop a nosebleed. His defense still doesn't know how to stop the run. Instead of blaming one of the worst offensive coordinators in football, we sit here, we get on Twitter, we empower ourselves through free speech, and we tweet some absolute garbage about Justin Herbert being overrated, Justin Herbert not being able to win, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Justin Herbert, not the problem. Justin Herbert right now is going through a classic case of quarterback syndrome because he is carrying the rest of his team. I have seen this many times before. I have seen it with Matthew Stafford. I have seen it with Tony Romo. I have seen it with Andrew Luck. I have seen it. All those men fell to the quarterback syndrome. Justin Herbert, I will not allow. It is my duty with this platform. I will not allow Justin Herbert to get sick, to have the flu of the quarterback syndrome. We must get a coach. We must get an offensive coordinator. We must get a defense for young Justin Herbert. We must. Because I hate this team. I don't like the Chargers. For the first time in my life, I don't like the Chargers. I hate them. I despise them. I can't stand them. Okay. Everybody's talking about Kyler Murray, bro. Like, everybody's talking about the press conference where he threw another guy under the bus. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take everybody to keep up with this, but guys, I've been telling you for a long time, Kyler Murray is like the worst leader in sports. He's terrible. He just continues to throw people under the bus. He blames everybody but himself. He's a spoiled brat. Just as Zach Wilson is. Everybody wants to get on Zach Wilson. Make fun of Zach Wilson. But nobody wants to call out Kyler Murray for being an absolute jackass. For being an absolute bum. Kyler Murray is easily the most overrated football player in the NFL. Easily the most overpaid NFL player. Easily. Not even close. Maybe Russell Wilson. But is anybody ever going to admit that Kyler Murray is just not as good as people think? Just not as good as his contract. And he's not that good of... He's not a good example of what you want as a franchise quarterback. He's just immature. He's a spoiled brat. He doesn't take any accountability. If you're going to be a quarterback in this NFL, you've got to be accountable. And Kyler Murray is not accountable whatsoever. So if we're going to get on Zach Wilson, we got to get on Kyler Murray. The love affair has begun. The love affair has begun. Jordan Love took the field for the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. Late in that contest, Aaron Rodgers might be out for a couple of weeks. He may or may not be. Jordan Love. I just quickly want to say, I thought Jordan Love looked pretty good. I thought he looked confident. I thought he looked comfortable. I thought he threw the ball exceptionally well with some zip, with some power. I thought he threw it really well, accurately. I thought he had a good feel just right in the fourth quarter, 2-minute situations. Handled the offense really well. You know, and made that throw to Christian Watson. Watson takes it the rest of the way. I mean, it's amazing that Jordan Love figured out Christian Watson's his best receiver in the first snap or second snap. It's still taken Aaron Rodgers. He still hasn't figured it out. He still thinks it's Allen Lazard or Randall Cobb for some reason. Christian Watson's open for the whole game, and for some reason he only gets 5 targets a game. But, you know, that's besides the point. Keep scoring touchdowns, bro. Has more touchdowns than, like, a majority of the best receivers in the NFL. I'm intrigued to see what Aaron Rodgers does moving forward. Honestly, I didn't see a lot of difference between Jordan Love operating the offense and Aaron Rodgers. I'm just going to be honest with you. Obviously, I think there is a difference there. I think Rodgers is better, don't get me wrong. But Jordan Love, I mean, I think this is a guy that, just think about it if you're the Packers. If you have all this cap space, if you get rid of Aaron Rodgers, you can use that cap space to get another receiver to join Christian Watson. You can use that cap space on the offensive line. You could use that cap space on defense. I think this team could use a new defensive coordinator. I think this team could use really not a lot on the roster. Another receiver. And if you had cap space and you just threw Jordan Love out there, I think you could compete. I'm not a huge fan of Matt LaFleur, but he calls a pretty good offense. And I think if you have a mature defensive coordinator in there, I think you can make things work. I think Joe Barry is a disaster. He's terrible. He's one of the worst in the game. But I do think that Jordan Love, you can win games with. And I went back to my scouting report of Jordan Love back in 2020. And I saw some of the things that I liked about him, and I saw some of the things that I didn't like. I'm going to leave that link in the description if you guys want to check that out, and the time code as well, so you guys can check that out. But I will say, I was a fan of Jordan Love coming out. I wasn't a huge fan, but I was a fan of him. You know, he was, as I described him, the most frustrating and most exciting quarterback in the class. He was very, very wild, but he had high-end potential, and he had a lot of physical tools. But he was wildly inconsistent. And what I've seen from Jordan Love in the preseason a little bit, and now in this action, the brief action that we saw, is a guy that does have the physical talent to start in this league, and he just feels like a more mature, more ready prospect than he was a couple years ago. And I'd be willing to give him an opportunity, at least in a couple games for the rest of the year, just to see what we have, because we're not making the playoffs. So I'd be willing to look at that to see what we have. The final topic. This is the moment you have all been waiting for, the absolute main event of the evening. I must profess, I must confess that I have officially given up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady for the 2022 NFL season. I will no longer approach the Bucs with optimism. I will no longer allow myself to bet on the Buccaneers. I will no longer allow myself to bet on Byron Leftwich. I will no longer sit through their games expecting any different. This football team is a disaster. This franchise is a disaster. And I worry for this fan base, a fan base that I have come to love. I respect. I really like Bucs fans. You know, the last couple of years, Bucs fans have been very good to me, and I know a lot of you guys watching this video are Bucs fans right now, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the support. And I've become a Bucs fan. I really have, and I'll always have a soft spot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers throughout the rest of my life because of the moment that Tom Brady was there, that Gronk was there, and I was able to kind of become a bandwagon Bucs fan for a couple of years. But this franchise is in trouble. They are. If they do not figure out the future of this franchise, if they do not make the right decision with this coaching staff, it has been very obvious that the success of the Bucs has been due to Tom Brady and the talent on this team. It has not been because of the coaching. It has not been because of the culture. It has been because of the players, the talent, the leadership of Tom Brady, the ability of Tom Brady to carry below average coaching to a lot of wins and a Super Bowl. It is very obvious. It is not obvious. I said that from day one. If it's not obvious to you, you need to go to a doctor, you need to get your head examined, and you need to be put on some drugs. I don't know what to tell you, but if I see one more person comment on my videos, Brady hater or no Brady hater, that Tom Brady is the reason this team is not as good as we thought it would be, they do not know what they're talking about. So the haters want me to say, and I will confess, that Tom Brady is not as good as he was last year. Tom Brady is not as good as he was in 2020. I agree. He is not playing that way. He is not playing the same. He is not making as many big plays and game-changing throws as he did the last couple of years. I agree. The roster has also regressed a lot. Mike Evans is not the same player. Chris Godwin is not the same player. Their third receiver is not the same. Their tight end is not the same. Fournette is not the same player. Their offensive line is not nearly the same. The defense isn't really even the same. This team has just regressed. That's why it's so hard to understand what's going on. The roster is no longer at the level that it can carry putrid coaching. Putrid. Disgusting, awful, garbage coaching. The worst coaching in football. It's an embarrassment. Every week it's an embarrassment. I mean, I watch this team play and my heart literally hurts when I watch this team play. Because I know this team should be better. I know this team should be winning. I feel for those players. I feel for Tom Brady. And it hurts for me to watch Tom Brady in his last final years lose. When I know that he could be somewhere else, New England, winning. And I was buying into the Bucs after the bye, surging off of the bye, coming out with a new identity, making adjustments, making things happen. Haven't done that. In this game against the Browns, multiple chances to pull away. Multiple chances to put a statement down in Cleveland. They're up 17-10 for like the whole fourth quarter. They score with 7:41 left in the third quarter to go up 17-10. For 6 possessions, they have the opportunity to go down the field, extend the lead. They don't do that. They get a little bit more conservative. They don't make the plays. They get some unlucky penalties called on them. They don't get any penalties called for them really at all. There was multiple instances where I thought Mike Evans was interfered with. They didn't get any of those calls. But oh well, you got to overcome that. Embarrassing. 17-10. You can't make it 20. You can't make it 24 and close the game out. I don't even blame the defense. They gave them way too many opportunities. Tom Brady, the offense, Byron Leftwich, way too many opportunities to get back in the game. Byron Leftwich takes 3 quarters to call play action because he's got to set it up with first down runs for 3 quarters. The haters want to blame Tom Brady. But if you actually watch the games, yeah, Tom Brady is not what he was. He's not the best quarterback. But he's still good. He's still a playoff quarterback. He's still a Super Bowl quarterback. And with a lot of teams, they would love to have Tom Brady. You don't think Patriots would love to have Tom Brady? You don't think the Niners, the Raiders, the Giants, damn, the Cowboys? You don't think some of these teams would love to have Tom Brady? I mean, I'm just saying. I feel like when you watch him, it's not him. It's really not. What's really going on is, I mean, I can't say it any more ways. I'm just tired at this point. I'm depressed. I'm tired. I say it every week. It's like I'm just beating the same drum. And I'm just upset, man. Like, I'm done. I'm emotionally drained by this team. The Bucs coaching is so bad. I mean, Todd Bowles explained in his press conference this morning why he didn't call a timeout on the final drive. And he said it was because Tom Brady might throw an interception, even though he hasn't thrown an interception in a final drive since the 2000s. Think about that for a second. If you're Todd Bowles, what would ever make you think in the history of your Bucs career with Tom Brady? Maybe you don't have a good feel for his Patriots career. That's fine, even though you were the Jets head coach. What makes you think he's going to throw an interception in that situation? How many times has he won you a game this year in that situation? Like, just think about it. That's stupid. That's a stupid answer. That is a absolutely disgusting answer. If that's the real reason, you deserve to be fired for that alone. Alone, because you could have won the game on that drive the way that it was going. And you don't. And then the other thing that absolutely kills me is this team's inability throughout the entire 3 years that Tom Brady has been there. The inability to make any adjustments on offense. You know, watching the Bucs, how good they're going to play on offense based on the first 3 drives of the game. The only other spots where they look better is in hurry up where Brady is calling plays. They never make adjustments. They never adjust to what the opponent is doing. They are the classic losing formula of we do what we do. And as a Patriots fan, that is my least favorite form of coaching. I despise we do what we do. The players play. The players execute our game plan, our plays. We never adjust style of coaching. I hate it. As a coach myself, I'm a lacrosse coach, okay? As a coach myself, football is a different sport. It's more complicated. It's more defined. It's more detailed. There's individual plays that you design, that you set up. Lacrosse, there's some of that, but not to the same degree, okay? I would never be able to sit there on the bench and be able to not adjust to what a team is doing on the other side. Not be able to adjust to a way a goalie is playing or a way their defense is playing. I would never be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to sit there the whole game and just say, yeah, we're going to run the same plays we've been running the whole game, even though it hasn't been working. You know how terrible that is? You know how bad you have to be as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, to have no creativity, to have no anxiousness to adjust. It's just basic coaching, basic fundamentals. As Bill Belichick says, you shouldn't be having to make halftime adjustments because you're adjusting on the fly as the game is taking place. Why does Bill Belichick take notes throughout a game? Why does Matt Patricia do that? Because they're taking notes of what's happening in the game so that they can adjust, so that they can go to the sidelines and talk to the coaches, talk to the players about what's going on. The Bucs play with no structure. The Bucs play for me, as somebody that enjoys watching detail, structure, execution, the Bucs entirely rely on talent. They entirely rely on chaos. They entirely rely on just a old-fashioned way of playing football. It doesn't make any sense. So I am done being pulled in, sucked in by this football team. Will I cheer for them? Sure. But not the same way I once did, because I am officially done. I am officially dead. I am officially lost. I give up. I do. So, that's all I got to say about the Bucs. That's all I got to say about the NFL Week 12. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike the like button. Let me know what you thought of the recorded version. I know it's very similar, but maybe it's a little bit different for how you listen to it, how you digest it. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.